All right, what's up, guys? MC Stu here, and today we're going to go over the details that were announced or gone over on the 10 Forward stream this evening. So they went through all the different ships, the specs, and the bundle itself, and pricing. It was about an hour-long stream. I've condensed that down into a much shorter video, just kind of clipping out the important pieces, and we're just going to review those real quick and take a look. They give us some basic information on the stats of the ships, things like that. Traits, consoles, that kind of thing. We're gonna have to really see how they perform in game like everything else, but now we have a good idea of what to expect once those release. So let's go ahead and pull up the video here. And so what we're going to start with is Kale was not able to pull up the blog post due to some kind of technical issue he was having. So he went ahead and just dictated what the bundle was going to cost and include. So let's go ahead and give it a listen and see what we're getting.
The price of the bundle will be 17,500 Zen with a 25% off sale running for basically the first month of its.
So I had to go back and listen to that again a couple times, and then he talks about it again at the end. So it's 17,500 Zen, so $175 US if you're in the US, and that is with that 25% off. So the regular price is, 25% more or whatever it is. At first, when I had first heard it watching the live stream, I thought that it was going to be the 175 or 17,500 minus the 25% off. But if that was the case, that would bring it down to like 130 something. So if you were just going to get all four ships, individually, you might as well spend the extra, like $11, whatever, and get it. So that price is with the 25% off.
That it's live. It includes the T6 Terran Eagle Pilot Raider. So these are the four new ships. The T6 Terran Eagle Pilot Raider, the T6 Terran Sirius Command Dreadnought Cruiser, which comes with a Miro Yamato variant if you buy the bundle. The T6 Terran Hydra Intel Destroyer, which if you buy the bundle comes with the Miro Prometheus variant and the Miro Hestia variant. A Terran Monitor Miracle Worker Carrier, which if you buy the bundle comes with a Miro Nebula variant and a Miro Sutherland variant. And if you buy the bundle, you get an account unlock of the Miro Crossfield Science Destroyer with the with a brand new updated look for the Glen. I'm
just going to pause it there for a minute. So the four new ships, also three of them include a unlock for a new skin. The first one that he mentioned does not, because there's not a tier 6 version of the Aquarius. So the Eagle, which is the Mir Terran Aquarius basically variant, that has a unique skin and stuff, but it doesn't unlock for if you have the tier 5 or the fleet upgraded, whatever it is. That will not translate over because that older version, all the textures and those things have not been updated and won't match all of that stuff. But the other three ships, because there's other variants in the game and quite a few of them, they will have unlocks that will come, but you'll only get that when you purchase it with the bundle. The last thing he mentioned was the promo ship, which is the Mir Crossfield or the Terran Crossfield, whatever you want to call it. It's a promo ship. That's going to be an account unlock. And then he's going to go on here in just a moment to talk about the sticks and that was added. They did make a comment in the stream that was a change that they had made. It looked like last minute. It looks like they put that in the works at the end of last week. The blog was supposed to go live on Monday. It didn't, and they commented that was a good thing because there was a change to it. So it looks like they saw some of the feedback. And, I got to say, I mean, the ships and everything they've went through, I did say I was going to reserve judgment, but I will say that I think, I was wrong. Just aesthetically, what they teased us with wasn't exactly what we were getting, and that's a good thing, with some exceptions, and we'll get into that here in just a little bit. But I do like that they went ahead and added some additional stuff to really kind of sweeten that up. So that was really nice that they did that. But what they've released and gone over, I'm pretty happy with the new stuff. And again, we'll get into more detail once we get to the ships there.
The mirror mode on that and the Mirror Crossfield skin. Those both come if you get the bundle. And you get an account unlock T6 Sticks. What is it? Terran Sticks Dreadnought? Something like that.
Sticks, yeah. Dreadnought Cruiser, I think.
Dreadnought Cruiser, that's what it is. You also will get 100% off T6 chip coupon for the Zen store.
So far, that's 100% off coupon and the 4 new ships, a promo ship, and a lockbox ship. So that's 7 ships that you'll get for the $175. Plus all this additional stuff he's gonna go through here.
You will get, and we won't be showing these off tonight, sorry, but you can get some details in the blog tomorrow. You get 3 pack exclusives, a new universal kit module, which is warp bubble ruptures. It makes an explosion.
I'm gonna kind of skip through this a bit because he goes to describe
this radiation damage to your
this ground console, and it's kind of like whatever. Like we don't know what the stats are. So you get a ground console that's a unique one.
You will get a Terran Beverly Crusher holographic bridge officer, who has one different trait depending on whether you grab her as a Federation character or as a Klingon, but it's very cool. And a Terran EV suit, the one you saw Emperor Crusher wearing at the start of this whole story arc when he was hanging.
So I haven't played through the newest arc. I want to go through all the missions at once. So I don't know what this suit looks like. If you've played through them and you know what he's talking about, then you'll know what that looks like. You'll get the Beverly Bridge Officer. It looks like there's 2 variants of it, at least in terms of the traits, depending on your faction. And then you'll get that exclusive ground kit module. Again, other than his just basic explanation about kind of what it does, we don't have any kind of details on that. They did confirm, however, that all of those items would be reclaimable. So there's been bundles in the past with bridge officers and some things like that where you could only claim it on one character, and that was a real bummer for people that purchased that bundle. This particular bundle is not like that, so you will be able to reclaim any of those items on multiple characters or on the same character, at least in the case of the EV suit. So if you wanted to outfit your whole bridge crew with it or whatever it may be, you'll have that available to you to claim multiple times. So that's good. So there's some additional stuff here that will come with that as well.
Out in space, looking at the planet that was getting digitized, and that one actually comes with its own feature that will create warp bubbles as well. You also.
So he says the EV suit also will create warp bubbles similar to that ground kit module.
Get 6 starship slots, 6 experimental upgrade tokens, 13 ultimate tech upgrades, 13 master keys, and the exclusive title Storm Chaser. Now, the 4 new ships will be available to be purchased separately in the Zen store at the usual C-store price or Zen store price, but you just then won't get all of the extra bonuses that you get from purchasing the bundle.
Okay, so just to recap, it is going to be $175 for the whole bundle. You get all of those extra goodies. You get the 4 ships. There's 3 unlocks that you'll get for the skins, promo ship, and also a lockbox ship, and a tier 6 100% off coupon. So 7 in total. You can purchase the new ships individually. The only way to get the promo ships and those kinds of things would be to buy the whole pack. I think based off of what I've seen, and I'll go into more detail about this probably at the end once we look at the ships, but in terms of value, I think it's there, especially with the addition of the sticks. Like I said, that really brought up the whole thing quite a bit for me. After seeing the specs, I think it probably was pretty good on its own, especially if they didn't adjust the price at all. If the price would have been lower and then you got the other stuff, I don't know. But I think from a value standpoint, it's good. It is expensive. This game is expensive. A lot of games these days can be. That's not an excuse for it, but I mean, it is what it is. So, when I'm saying it's a good value, I'm not saying you should go buy it, because that's an individual decision that you have to make, number one, on your finances, what your disposable income is, and whether or not you like this stuff or not. Do you like the way the ships look? Is that how you play? Is that what you care about? Are you looking at just purely the stats and the way it looks is secondary? Those are all things you're going to have to consider. But purely from the standpoint, if you had to purchase, ships at, say, so in this pack, you're going to have 5 C-store ships basically with the coupon. So that's what, $150. Promo ships and lockbox ships, they'll cost you anywhere between $200 to $300, which is outrageous. So, I mean, you're looking at quite a bit of money, if you were to go buy this stuff individually. So from that standpoint, in comparison, the value of purchasing the pack is definitely there. That's not to say it's inexpensive. That's not to say that it's not overpriced. That's just a comparison between how you would normally obtain these other ships individually or through the normal means compared to being able to obtain them in a bundle like this. So from that standpoint purely, it is a very good value in my opinion. Let's go ahead and this next bit here is going to be the starting with the first ship, and this is going to be the Monitor. So this is the Nebula variant, and we're going to start with just taking a look at, I just kind of muted this part. So he was in the Taylor and just kind of moving the ships around a little bit. Like I said, I tried to condense this down. There's a lot of just talking about the backgrounds, you know, and it's interesting, good information, but the stream itself was an hour long. So if we went through all of that, we'd be here forever. But I just wanted to grab the things that would be important, kind of how the ship looks, and get some of the basic stats on it. So this is kind of cool. This is a new pod. So all the pieces are pieces from other ships and variations and those kinds of things. The mission pod is brand new. This is a hangar mission pod. So this is where your hangar pets will launch from. And if we can see the view here, you can actually see right through it. So I'm assuming they launch out the front. Maybe they land in the back. Nice little feature. Looks good. They did a good job on the ship itself. I like the overall design aesthetic. Again, with this ship, they made some variations to it with that mission pod, and for me, that one's not bad. It's not my favorite. There are two that are definitely my favorite that we'll see here at the end, and then the third, we'll talk about that when we get to it. So let's jump into the specs. I kind of rearranged how they went over the ships. This was the last one they went of, and they just boom, 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 hit all the points right off the bat. The rest of them are very disconjointed, and I had to kind of put it all together there. So let's start with looking at some of the specs, seating, and that kind of thing for the Monitor.
All right. Before I go into battle, let's talk a little bit about the ship design and show off some of the stuff we've got. So, Jonathan, where do you want to start?
All right. So the Monitor here is Miracle Worker.
And I'm sorry to keep pausing it, guys. I'll rewind it here in a moment. But Jonathan, he's been on a few of their streams, and he is a delight. I just want to say I'm very happy that he was someone that was promoted up to replace, was it Bordicus? I get him and another guy mixed up. But he really seems to have a very good understanding of not just the back end of the game, but the way that we play the game and the way he describes, the stats, the ships, addressing our concerns when he's in chat. He does a really, really good job. And so I know we've pooped on these guys sometimes, for different things, and I want to make sure that we're being fair. It's really nice having him on the streams, especially when we're going over kind of more of the technical stuff like this. So let's just back that up a little bit.
Miracle Worker Carrier. It's got cool advanced heavy Tetrion emitters is its console. This actually has a little feature that's not on this build, but yeah, the main thing about it is you turn it on, and then for like a period of time, I want to say 15 seconds, it fires 2 heavy Tetrion beams at random enemies near you that do a pretty significant amount of damage and drain the crap out of their shields. And if it finds an empty shield facing, it chains to an additional target. And it is on this build, and applies a 10% stacking Cat 1 damage bonus to Tetrion to yourself for 30 seconds. Just a little reward for doing it right.
So it's kind of cool. There's a condition to the clicky, so it does the Tetrion damage. It chains together. If you use it in a way that hits ships that have a shield face that's down, it'll chain to another target, and it'll give you a stacking Cat 1 boost to your, is it specifically Tetrion damage? Additional random nearby foe damage. Okay, stacks up to 50%. Tetrion damage. Huh. He said it is, but I don't see it like that in the tooltip. Passives on it are Tetrion damage plus, and then also some drain. Drain. There we go. Spencer, you can put it together for me now. You'll understand. All right, let's keep it going. So that's the console. Meh for me personally.
Nice.
But yeah. Very shield drainy, very Tetrion-y, and should reward you for either needing to strip their shields off or being Tetrion yourself if that's what you are. The trait.
So if you're doing a Tetrion build, then this would probably be a console you want to go and get, since it does Tetrion damage and it boosts Tetrion. I don't see this as being any kind of game changer or anything like that. But if you're a Tetrion person and you already have a build and you're looking for ways to augment it more, this would be a console for that. It's on a science ship, so if that's what you're doing, maybe that doesn't make sense with the platform. But in any case, that's the console, and I don't want to give it like a bad score because it's really just a matter of usability. For me, there's not a lot of usability.
For it is let's see here.
Tetrion Piercer. Or Tachyon Piercer. Tachyon Piercer, sorry.
Yeah, it adds that chaining effect to your Tetrion attacks. And it also, perhaps more consequently, strips buffs off your targets.
So what this seems like to me is it turns your Tetrion weapons into something similar to like Baul weapons, where you're going to get some chaining or reflection, going to different targets. And then it's also a debuff as well. So that might be useful in a scenario if you're, have some sort of a support or debuff kind of a build, and, you decide you're going to use Tetrion weapons, slot this trait. Again, we'll just have to see how that performs in game. Again, I don't think this is a big game changer for any kind of scenario.
Ooh, very cool. All right, stations. So we've got Lieutenant Commander Universal Temporal Ops, Lieutenant Commander Tactical, Ensign Engineering, Commander Science Miracle Worker, and Lieutenant Science.
So, a little interesting with the Temporal and Miracle Worker not being a full... I mean, this is a science ship, so it just seems kind of backwards from what we're used to, but, this gives you a little bit of... flavor, something different to try out. Again, this ship is probably on the bottom of my list personally, for something that I would use. That's not to say it's bad. It's just not something that really fits in my hangar very, very well.
Let's go take her and put her through her paces.
So we're going to skip all the paces stuff because it's just too much time. So the next one here is the Sirius. And the Sirius, S-I-R-I-U-S, Sirius. Okay. Now, this one was the one that I was most like, they're just selling us the same thing. And it really kind of is. Luckily, I really like the design. The non-dreadnought version of it, basically, as well. But basically, this is just a variant of that last one. And I can't remember the damn name of the other one that looks like it off the top of my head. So I will not be able to give you that. What is happening on my screen here? Okay, I'm in transition. I'm like, is something wrong with my recording? Anyways, I should probably cut that out, but it's late. Anyways, so let's take a look at it. Let's talk while we're looking at it. So basically they've added your Gal-X pieces to it. So the spinal lance, the phaser lance on the bottom, the third nacelle, the little extra pieces there around the bridge, on the top and behind the bridge. It's nice looking, but again, I mean, I basically have this ship without the third nacelle already. So from an aesthetic standpoint, it looks good. It just doesn't get me super excited. I got plenty of ships with a third nacelle and those kinds of things. So, but yeah, again, if you're super into it, you're into it. This is my personal preference. It just doesn't do anything, for me. And this is the one I had kind of the most like, wait a minute, that's a little underwhelming because it's so similar. And it is, but it does look good. It's just not, it's not different enough, I guess. I don't want to buy ships that, are very similar looking to other ones unless like I just have to have it for traits, consoles, or the ship itself is just super, super good. All right, let's go ahead and hear about the specs.
The Sirius is like a shield-centric kind of space. I don't want to say Archon because that implies a lack of a hull.
I do like. So they took a concept, whether you like the concept or not. They said, okay, this is going to be this shield-centric ship, and they built the stuff around it. Now, you could say, well, that's not going to be useful, or it is, and we'll have to just see. But I think it's cool that they're coming up with concepts for a particular ship and just building to it. It just adds more variety into the game, which I like.
But it's a shield fighter, essentially. It's a shield brawler. The console biaxial graviton impeller essentially like projects your shields outward and weaponizes them. So they like physically pushes the shields out from your shield facing, physically pushes enemy ships away, and does a fair amount of damage. And it also briefly sets your shields to 0 because you weaponize them. But
it kind of reminds me of the Vaudouar Juggernaut array, the way it kind of clouds out. The animation is a little bit different, but it's similar to that. So it pushes out, does damage, it also moves the ships back, and he says it also kind of, whatever it's moving back, if you have two ships, it kind of pulls them together as well. So there's a little bit of a control effect, at least, if you use it in a, in the right
It
way.
also adds a tremendous amount of shield vamp. So any damage you do, like for example, with the shields you just shot at people, will rapidly restore your shields, and you're going to find that you fill up pretty quickly and in fact generate more shields than you started with over the period, and not by a little. The other thing that's neat about it is the shove function is based on the distance from you. So it will tend to gather enemy ships. An enemy ship that like rides your shield wave will end up in about the same place as.
So the passive stats are giving you boost to your shield restoration, shield capacity. The actual effect, the AoE effect that it does is kinetic damage, and it also has, like you said, that control effect to it. So, it's interesting. Again, I think on this particular ship, this particular console, I don't know that I'm going to have a lot of use for it. And again, when I say I'm not going to have a lot of use for it, I'm not saying these are bad. It's just not something that I'm going to use.
Other enemy ships that you push, so you can use it to kind of gather ships in that way.
All right, so trait. Let's talk about the trait on this guy.
Oh, I kind of snuck it.
So that was kind of awkward pause on stream. So earlier, I think Kale might have been doing something else, but he went through a very long explanation of it. I decided to put this one in because they're actually showing the trait specs here, and he'll tell us briefly what we're looking at. But basically, you are going to get a weapons damage boost for however much your shields are over 50%. So let's say your shields are at, I don't know, 100. Like right now, Kale's shields are down a little bit, so it looks like his shields are down by 22%. So they're 28% over the 50, and that's why he's getting a plus 28.1% all damage to directed energy weapons. And they do say this is a Cat 1
Then already,
boost.
but yeah, it's bonus damage for high shields. Not bonus, sorry. Cat 1 damage for high shields. So
you did mention that. Okay.
So it scales off your shield health. Anything over 50% is what you're going to get from this. At 100%, a Cat 1, 50% boost isn't bad. The issue is, depending on the enemies, if you're going up against the Borg or some of the others, your shields get drained pretty quick. And so you would have to really, build around shields, build around shield hardness. Shield hardness is like resistance for shields, like resistance is for hull. In order to keep that rating up as much as possible, in order to keep that boost up. I would say this is probably a, mid-tier trait, maybe. It's not bad. It synergizes with what the ship does and what he was trying to build it around. So, from that standpoint, if you picked up the ship and wanted to go down that route, building, maybe a shield tanky kind of a thing and, leverage that, you could definitely make it work. And, if you're having fun doing it, then you're winning. And that's really, what matters. So in terms of on the meta end of it, it's not going to be used.
Cool. Thank you. All right,
Go
stations. Lieutenant Commander Universal Miracle Worker. Lieutenant Commander Tactical. Lieutenant Commander Engineering Command. Lieutenant Engineering. And Ensign Science.
So layout would lean itself to, doing torp boat, mine build, tanking, anything that's got a full command spec. And we're going to see a lot of that across this ship and the next two. I was a little surprised at how much we were seeing of command. The first ship that we looked at was the only one that didn't have it, if I remember correctly. But seating on this is not terrible. You could do a lot with it, but I think it's going to probably excel at torp and kinetic mines. And again, tanking is probably going to be the things that you're going to want to look at doing with this. You could definitely put together, a beam overload, just fun build, and it would do perfectly fine with that. Because you could run, beam overload, 3 suppression barrage, keep you alive, concentrate firepower, put a torpedo up front. You could do a lot with this, and using the Miracle Worker abilities really boost the energy weapon side of that as well. So this fairly versatile platform. If you were looking at it like, man, I just really like the way it looks, but I don't want to buy something that's garbage, it's not garbage. The trade is okay. The console, I don't know. The seating is pretty good, and the overall ship is not bad. So I mean, if we're gonna rate stuff, and this is my personal opinion, I'm gonna put this at about maybe a 5 or 6 for me. The first ship, I'm probably gonna put more like a 4 or 5 on the lower end. None of them are garbage. Some of them, like I said, just don't really fit my play style there. So, All right, let's keep going. All right, now this thing is so cool. So this is the... Oh, what the heck is this? Sorry, I was reading the name of the file that we're watching, and I think I might have misspelled stuff on it. This I zoomed in on. I wish I could have captured more of what they were showing, but it was all so segmented. It would have been really clipped up. The front of it almost has like a Battlestar Galactica look to it. This is called the Hydra, which is really, really cool. I got a feeling this is probably going to be one of the fan favorites here. It does the multi-vector effect. It's got a new console for that, which we'll take a look at in a minute. It's a really cool looking ship. Hats off to them on that. They did a very, very good job. I really like the way that this turned out. It looks really, really cool. My personal preference, but again, I think that this will probably be one of the favorites out there once we get a look. And this is one of the things when we were looking at what was posted on Twitter, they had, you know, they did a good job at kind of teasing it, but maybe that's why people felt a little underwhelmed, is they used some models, at least it looked like to me, maybe it was the silhouette of this ship, but, you know, we identified it as being a Prometheus, and that's just what our brain filled in, not knowing it was actually a new skin design like this. And this, because that was one of my criticisms, and this is where I was wrong, is I was talking about, you know, the Defiant variant last year, the Adamant, I think I called it in the Cygnus in the last video, but it's a similar kind of ship. They did just a full rework on the skin, and it looks different. It looks cool, and this is one of those ships here, and they hit it out of the park with it. It's really, really cool.
So first of all, here's the stats on the console we were just talking about. This is the harmonic yield distribution via radial aperture.
Oh yeah, the other thing about the Hydra maneuver is that it will work on...
So this I had to really kind of cut it up because they were just kind of all over the place. Let's just walk it back a little bit. This does some kind of wild stuff here. I'm not going to try and rename that, but basically the clicky on it, so this does the separation, and then the clicky on it teleports all of your pets, and it classifies pets as anything with an engine. So that could be your call-ins, like the Nimbus Pirates, or there's a whole bunch of other different ones, your distress calls, anything that has an engine on it. And the only thing they excluded was holographic ships that aid you because they're not real. But basically anything else that's flying around, it's going to teleport in front of you, and they're all going to emit this phaser damage blast out of it. It looks pretty wild. Again, we'll have to see how well it performs in game, but it's a very unique console. The ability, it kind of does a lot of stuff, and so I'm pretty interested to check this out. Even if it's not super good, looking at it on stream, it looked pretty cool and fun. So again, we'll see when we get our hands on it.
The other thing about the Hydra maneuver is that it will work on anything that has a sufficient hull size and an engine. So it doesn't necessarily have to have weapons or be a traditional pet, or even like, if you can fly it that way, you can do the maneuver, because all it relies on is engine coolant and like some kind of ship hull. So you can do it with like probably a freighter like the Kobayashi, or like maybe some other random crap. It shouldn't work on anything that doesn't have an engine. So like no mines, no turrets. Like mines have maneuvering thrusters, but thrusters aren't engines. But yeah, it should work on a lot of different weird stuff. Clicky scorpions from the device tray, stuff like that.
Cool.
So again, pretty interesting. We'll check it out once we get our hands on it in game. Again, I'm super pumped about the ship. The space bar beside it is sold, you know, just that by itself.
Okay, great. So let's talk about the trait, because we haven't talked about that yet. What does the trait do?
Yeah, can you mouse over that little guy?
I already have.
Yeah, right. Time Lord. Time Lord. Strike Group Command Authority. Basically, you pick a boss pet, essentially. I mean, you don't really choose it, but whichever pet is the strongest will provide a bonus to all your pets. So if your biggest pet is a fighter, your pets will get decent bonus. If your biggest pet is a frigate, your pets will get a better bonus. And if your biggest pet is a physical piece of your starship, like, for example, an M-Van or a separated saucer, your pets will get the largest possible bonus.
Yeah. Also going to give the 40%. All right, seats. I knew it.
So let's pull that back a little bit here. So this is, let's go a little bit more, because that keeps kind of wigging me out. So this is huge. When I saw this, I was like, no way, it's finally happening. The they have added in a trait that boosts our hanger pets. This is something that we've been asking for quite a while, and we are seeing it happen now. And I think that we're probably going to see more of this kind of stuff. I know, Josh, this is on his radar, you know, the issue with carriers and the underperformance, not being able to really kind of boost your pets and things like that. So this is pretty exciting that we're starting to see this come in. I mean, if you go on the wiki and you're trying to put together a carrier build and you're looking for a way to boost your pets, which on a carrier build should be some of your main, you know, damage output, because you only have 6 weapons in most cases, unless you have a flight deck, and don't get me started on all that. But basically a pure carrier just massively underperforms because there's only like 3 or 4 different things in the whole game that does anything to affect them in a positive way. And not all of them are even, you know, direct damage kind of boosts. So getting something in addition to what little we already have is really, really good. And I hope, and based on hearing him talk in other 10 Forward streams, it seems like that's going to at least a side focus, something that's on his radar, and that I would expect to probably see, you know, more things happening for carriers and pets and those kinds of things. So I'm pretty pumped about this. And so let's just recap it. So it's a bonus damage for pets based off of the strongest pet. So if you had 2 bays and you did frigates, and then you had fighters in the other one, the frigates, they're going to look at that and say, okay, that's the best thing in the game and are on your ship. So that's going to give you 40% bonus damage for it and for your fighters, which is really cool. If you're using this trait with this ship, the multi-vector is going to give you the largest bonus. Or if you're using multi-vector, I'm assuming with any other ship, because there's other ships that you can do that with, you're going to get that 50% bonus for your pets. Now, I don't know if any other ships do multi-vector separate. Well, I don't know. Can you do multi-vector on anything else? We'll have to see. Because I'm thinking of the saucer separation. He did say that would count as well. So if you can put a saucer separation on, you know, on a ship that also has hangars, then you would be able to at least get some kind of boost from this. If you're just running just fighters only, that's 30%. But it is bonus damage. It's Cat 2. So even at 30%, that's a huge boost for your pets. And that's not something that has been available to us in any way close in the game up until now. So I'm pretty pumped to see this and see that, you know, there's some TLC being thrown in the direction of pets and hangars.
Yeah. Also going to give the 40%. All right, seats. I knew I forgot something. So this ship comes with a Lieutenant Commander Universal Station, an Ensign Universal Station.
Vibe-wise... Oh, sorry, I was still on the previous question.
No worries. A Commander Tactical Intelligence Station, and a Lieutenant Commander Engineering Pilot Station, and a Lieutenant Science Station.
We'll run that back, just chat about that for a minute. So for some reason, I thought this one had command as well, so just 2 of the ships do. So Intel primary and Pilot secondary. With the changes they're making to pilots, now I see why that was on the forefront, because these ships wouldn't have... We'd be pooping on them a little bit more, because prior to these changes, Pilot was not good at all. I think these changes they've made are pretty good. Some of the stuff I've seen, I've only played with it a little bit. They will be tuning that, but they definitely have added abilities that are going to be worthwhile, or not added, but adjusted abilities that were in the Pilot spec that will be worth using. So having Pilot on a ship like this now is definitely not a waste, and you can definitely find some new creative ways to make that work. And so, you know, for guys and girls that have played the game for a long time, this is nice to see, you know, these different flavors of combinations, plus the updating of some of the specializations like this, so that we can, you know, try out new different kinds of builds and our puzzles, right? Putting together ships. It's the new puzzles for grown-ups.
Science Station.
All right, let's keep it going. All right, and this is my favorite. So I've been harping on this in the last couple videos when they showed this, and we only had the silhouette, and the silhouette in my mind looked like the old one, which I thought the old one looked pretty cool. This thing looks really, really sick. It is a pilot ship as well. It has custom pilot maneuver animations, which is nice. I think it looks really, really cool. So I'm pretty excited for this. I was going to pick this one up regardless of what everything else ended up looking like, just because it's fun. This is the Eagle, and it is it's a variant of the Aquarius. The Aquarius is only available in a tier 5. You can get a tier 5 fleet version, you can upgrade it, and you can then X upgrade it, which basically makes it a tier 6 with no specialization. Obviously, it doesn't have a trait. So this is something is basically new being added to the game, at least at the tier 6 level. This doesn't exist in the tier 6 level. So I think that's a good thing, and I think the ship looks totally cool. I'm really, really pumped about this one and the last one that we looked at, the Hydra. So, and they go into some detail here. So they built it to be a torpedo boat, basically. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how that actually plays out in game.
But
it's a little different from. Well, let's go through the stats and then we'll
experimental weapons, subspace depth charge. It does kinetic, or I don't remember if it was Tetrion or kinetic. I think it's kinetic, but it does significant damage and drain shields. And I believe it's, if you can mouse over it, I think we put a scalar on there similar to the engine power.
So, and sorry, this is kind of disconjointed. This was the first ship that they went over in the stream. Things got a little more streamlined per ship as it got farther along, but the first couple ships was very kind of disconjointed. So what they're talking about right now is the experimental weapon, which is pretty interesting. So it does Tetrion damage and shield drain, and can be fired, and so it can also be fired while you're cloaked. So this ship has an advanced battle cloak, so it can fire while it's cloaked, and this weapon can also do that. So you can put 5 torpedoes up front. Normally on your torpedo builds, really a torpedo build, a meta one would be a kinetic build, and mines are a big part of that. You can only put 1 on this ship, but with some of the new stuff that we're getting, we'll have to look and see, is there a way to really kind of make that shine even without having all the mines on the back. It's gonna be a lot of fun on a pilot ship that's a torpedo build. I mean, this thing, at least the tier 5U version of it, handles just amazing, and I'm sure this is going to handle the same kind of way. So doing that with a torpedo build and having the ability to use the pilot maneuvers is just going to be a ton of fun for a build like this. So new kind of style of experimental weapon. It drains your engines. Is it the engines or is it the auxiliary? Well, let's just keep listening, and then we'll find out.
For scaling one, that name my brain is fumbled for the moment, but
yeah, it's up on the screen right now. I scale.
Oh, I can't read.
With auxiliary power instead of
auxiliary
weapon
power.
Yeah, it does an aux power damage scaler instead of.
Which is fine, because normally you're using something like Space Membrane, at least in high-end runs, and you need your. Well, that rain is loud. I wonder if you guys can hear that. It's storming here in Arizona, or once every 2-year storm. Anyways, so on your kinetic builds, you generally are going to have your aux boosted to maximum, and then your engines boosted all the way up. So this is going to synergize with how we would normally have our power settings set for a kinetic torpedo build. So that's nice that it makes sense, right? And I think that's the effect of having a guy like Jonathan being able to work on some of this stuff in a more senior role.
Scaling weapon haste with engine power, like the I want to say helical. I don't know why I can't remember it right now, but yeah. The trait is stealth torpedo bomber. Very on the nose. Time you spend stealthed and pilot maneuvers you conduct add stacks, and then when your stacks fill up, you get a torpedo spread 2. And you can actually, how the mechanism works is once you're at max stacks, when you get another stack, that's when you get the torp spread. So what you can actually do is bank one. You can have torp spread ready, bank up a full rack of extra stacks, and then back to back shoot off a pair of torpedo spreads. So yeah, that's pretty neat.
That is pretty.
So back that up a little bit. So the trait is definitely torp-centric. So basically when you're stealthed, you're going to, as you get in proximity to enemies, you're going to deploy basically a mine that stays around them. They didn't say there was any kind of cap on that. And then it'll also build up stacks that will give you torpedo spread 2, which is kind of cool. Let's see here. Stacks still apply. Y torpedo spread 2 is ready. Banks up to an additional 10. So is that an additional 10 stacks of torpedo spread? I don't know. we'll have to play with that as well. But it's definitely torp centric. They said at the beginning that this ship was built to be a torpedo build. That's also the stock loadout they put in there. They admit they know those aren't the torpedoes that we're going to use, but they wanted to make the stock loadout be representative of the design philosophy that they put behind the ship itself. So I was going to get this ship regardless because I just like it. And with the way I like to build and a lot of my, a lot of the gear that I have, that's going to fit this perfectly. I don't know, again, if it's going to be a top-end platform for that because you don't have the ability to stack the back with mines, but who knows? I mean, with a trait like this and with a torpedo build and with having a advanced battle cloak, you could just stay cloaked the whole time. I mean, if you used it with something like Theta, you could dance in and out of it. I mean, there's a lot of potential here. So I don't want to say that it can't be just because you can't put a bunch of mines in the back, because with this new trait and some of the other abilities that we already have in game mixed together with it, might be able to put something together that would be somewhat surprising. So either way, I'm really stoked about the ship. I really like the way it looks. I like the way the old one looks. I like the way this one looks even better. The only thing I'm hoping is that the old one had a animation where when you warp out, the nacelles fold into it, and it looks really, really cool. I hope this one does the same thing. I think it's going to be wild to fly because it's already super squirrely, and it's also a pilot ship. So it does have pilot maneuvers.
Neat.
That is pretty neat. Let's talk about the console a little bit. No, I don't want to take any items right now.
Yeah.
Is this it? No. Is it? Is this
Yeah,
it?
the console is Stealth Bombing Run, or I think it's called a Destruction of Enemy Area Defenses. It's a play on like military terminology, basically a mission to suppress air.
Covert Warhead Module is what it's called. I just found it.
Yeah. And then the actual power is called Destruction of Enemy Area Defenses. Anyway, you cloak for a period of time, and ships you fly near while you're cloaked, you attach a bomb to their hull.
I'm sorry. Then, I mixed up, and I probably will edit this out, but maybe not. I make mistakes. So the deploying of those mines are from the console, not the trait.
After a period of time, you decloak, and all the bombs go off at the same time.
That sounds so wonderful for my playstyle of cloak and fly into the middle of an enemy pack. All right, let's take a look at.
Let's go back to that console too, because the passives on this are pretty cool. So you got the 30% projectile damage, and you also get a shared cooldown reduction to 1.5 seconds or on anything that's longer. So this won't stack with other consoles that we have that affect this shared cooldown, the shared recharge. So just know that this doesn't stack with those other things. It's just going to reduce it if it is higher than that 1.5. So then it'll drop it down or to our 1.5 if equipped with a ship with pilot maneuvers. So on this ship, that's going to massively reduce that shared cooldown, which is or that torpedo recharge time, the shared one on it. So that's really, really interesting. I think that's probably going to be more useful than the other console. I can see a picture of it in my mind, but I can't think of what it's called. And then the passive that's on here is definitely cool with deploying these bombs. Again, we'll have to see how it performs. So, and I wonder if this is per enemy it deploys on. Anyways, it's a lot of stuff that I'm just trying to cram in. I just wanted to give you guys a good idea of what this stuff was going to look like before the ships came out, so you can kind of start thinking about what you wanted to get. So I'm hoping I'm getting you a good enough gist on these.
Pack. All right, let's take a look at the stations, and then we'll move on to another ship. So we've got a Lieutenant Commander Universal Command, Lieutenant Commander Universal, Lieutenant Universal, Ensign Universal, and Commander Tactical Pilot.
All right, so.
And Commander Tactical Pilot.
So this has command, so we can do concentrate firepower. We cannot do call artillery barrage, which from what I understand, they're fixing that, so that will be great again. This is kind of weird. That's probably just because of the way that the... I'm going to have him replay it, but whatever bridge officer he has assigned to it.
Lieutenant Universal, a Lieutenant Commander Universal Command, Lieutenant Commander Universal.
That's weird. I think the tags are incorrect. That's why I'm confused. Okay. The tags are incorrect there. So that's listed as being a Lieutenant Commander Lieutenant Commander Universal Command Station, and then the next
Commander
one
Universal Command.
is just a Lieutenant Commander Universal Station. Okay.
Commander Universal.
Yeah, it's just kind of weird. I think it's just because of the duty officer that was, or the bridge officer that was there.
Ensign Universal, and Commander Tactical Pilot.
So again, I'm pretty interested to play with these pilot abilities that have been changed in a little more detail, I guess. Let me put it that way. I've kind of messed with them a bit, but I haven't tried to apply them to any kind of build from scratch. So like I said, I'm definitely picking up this ship, and I will be looking at a way to synergize that in with a torpedo build, which obviously is what I think you'd want to put on this. Although you could put something else. You could do beam overload. You could do cannon scatter volley, but it would be cannon scatter volley 2. So there's a number of different things that you could do. No, I take that back, because this is a tactical commander. So you could do full cannon scatter volley, because the seating's super flexible, because it's all universal except for the one tactical here. So you could really do anything you want to on this ship, and not have any kind of major issues. I don't, not counting science, I don't see any trade-off to really going in another direction other than what it was, intended for, which is, a torpedo build. In fact, I would guess that scatter volley in most instances would probably outperform on a ship like this than a kinetic build. But again, like I said, we'll just have to see how it performs without being able to have all those mines. Does the trait make, a big enough difference? Does the console make a big enough difference? And we'll have to play with it and just see. But that's the fun part, and that's the part I'm looking forward to, especially on this ship. So do we have anything else here we're going to cover? I think that is the end. That is the end, guys. All right.
The price of...
Oh, let's just pause it. So I'm pretty excited overall. I think that they did a good job on the ships. Again, I think that the Sirius, it looks too close to some of the other ones. So that kind of felt bad, when we saw that, and then looking at the other ones that kind of popped up on screen. The other ones, they didn't do justice. And I know it was just a teaser, and I know I did do a disclaimer saying I'm going to withhold judgment, but I was feeling a little underwhelmed. And after seeing tonight's 10 Forward stream, I'm pretty pumped about it. I think they did, a good job on the ships. Is it for everybody? I don't know. I mean, I can't say that. Are they, pretty well-rounded, group of ships, that you could do a lot with? Yes. Do I think, there's just game-changing traits in there? Probably not. But they're not bad, at least not a couple of them. The platforms themselves, I think, are really good. I think there's better science ships you could probably get, but the other three, they're pretty good. Holy crap. You guys hear that? I need to log out, because it sounds like I'm getting bombed, but it's thunder. Oh my God, that's crazy. All right, so we're going to go ahead and finish this up right now. Yeah, so again, I think the value is good. Consider it. Definitely not pooping on it at this point. I think they did a good job. And again, relatively speaking, for what you'd pay for things, I think that the value is there for the money. Is it expensive? Yes, it is expensive. So I'm not saying, it's a deal, just go buy it. It's super cheap. So, but in terms of, like I said, relatively how you would purchase other things in the game, comparatively speaking, this is a good deal for what you're getting. So let me know what you guys think down in the description. Once they come out in game, we'll definitely play with these and do some videos on them. Let me know what you think. Are you pumped with the addition of the sticks? And what do you think about, the ship designs and what we've seen here on the 10 Forward stream? I think that'll cover it, guys. Don't forget about the giveaway in the Discord server that is live and will be pulled this coming Tuesday. I'm sorry, next Monday. That'll be Monday afternoon. That'll be pulled. Links down in the description for that. And until next time, guys, stay safe. Have a good one. Appreciate you watching. Hey, guys, appreciate you watching. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, ring the bell, and sub to the channel for the latest news updates and how-to guides.